When I tell you I love this movie, this was my reaction coming out of the cinema. So much better than the last one. Oh my god, thank fuck. So it's been a minute since I last uploaded a video, and I'm sorry for that, but I just went to see 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, tonight, and I have to talk about it. So I'm going to start this by saying I do love the 28 Days Later franchise. I thought I'd always be like a little bit biased towards everything that they kind of do. I love 28 Days. I thought 28 Weeks was really good. I didn't really get the hate behind that when that was like first a thing. 28 Years, however, I wasn't a huge fan. It didn't really sell me. I'm sorry. 28 Years, not a bad movie. It's not bad in any way, shape, or form. It was a good movie. But for me, it wasn't a 28 movie. I don't know if that makes sense, but there was just something about it that wasn't giving what I expected. Maybe my expectations were a bit too high for it, but it was giving like a sideshow for The Walking Dead for me, more than it was giving 28 Days, Weeks, whatever. That obviously doesn't mean it's bad. It was still good. It was just not what I hoped it would be, I guess. I'm very happy to say my expectations for this one were really low. I wasn't originally going to watch this, but I saw that it was on my local cinema and it was kind of cheap, and I thought, I'm not doing anything else, so why not? I have to start this review basically just praising Ralph Fiennes and Jack O'Connell. The acting was absolutely perfect. Jack O'Connell specifically stood out for me. Ralph, obviously, incredible, 10 out of 10. He does so well. This movie is actually a really funny movie as well. There's an incredible performance to an Iron Maiden song in it. I'm not gonna spoil it just yet. I'm gonna leave little spoilers maybe at the end. It was such a fun movie. I was worried that it would be in the sense of there's not really any gore, any horror aspect. It started off with a bit of gore, and I am just someone that loves a bit of horror and gore in movies. I'm a big fan of special effects makeup. I do special effects makeup myself. I just love seeing the work they put into the makeup, so that's why I love it when I'm seeing a horror movie that's really making use of those effects. I will tell you one thing, there's a lot of dick in this movie. There's a whole lot of it. There was a lot in the last one because it was just like of a size that was something else. We're seeing a lot of it, but you know, that's fine. It's the apocalypse. It's gonna happen, right? Everyone, like, eventually you're gonna lose your clothes. You can't really keep them on forever, right? They really played with different emotions when you're like watching something really violent happen to someone, but then they've made it somehow funny in a way, just by an odd comment or an odd mannerism in someone's acting. The last one, I felt like I was kind of just being like taken along slowly for like just the storyline, which is fine. I understand having to tell the story. I'm not trying to like be like, oh my god, no, a story, but I just liked the fact that I felt like we were seeing a bunch of things be answered. We were seeing a bunch of development in the characters. We're obviously following more Spike's story when he gets stuck with the Jimmy group at the end of the first 28 years. I'm gonna get a bit more into spoiler territory right now, so if you don't want any spoilers and you have not seen it, I won't bother really watching the rest. Just know, go and see it because it is good. So as I said, we were following Spike's story and he ends up with the Jimmy group, and you don't know whether these guys are going to be good or bad. They essentially save him at the end of the movie, but it turns out it's a bit of a twisted group. They're not a group that are necessarily good people by any means, but for the most part, not people you want to mess with, not people you want to have a problem with or even really run into if you're in that situation, for sure. I really liked that we got to see more about Samson, the alpha zombie. I know that was kind of hinted in the trailer already as it was, but I really like that we saw a potential cure kind of be made, something made by the doctor himself, where he is experimenting with him, basically getting him high to see if he has the fog in his brain, of which he assumes the virus could be like a fog of the brain, or it could be a literal embedded thing that you can't get rid of. You get to see some things through the alpha's eyes himself is also really cool. Really was a bit like initially when I saw there's like a clip that shows you see it through his eyes, I wasn't that keen on that part initially until I saw it play out a bit further on into the movie, and then I realized, wait, no, this is kind of good. I kind of like this. I was immediately gonna kind of be a hater on it, but then I realized, wait, no, I fuck with this. This is cool. This is actually cool. We do have explained why the Jimmy crew are together, which is also interesting. And it's a whole like a satanic kind of cult. The lead, Jimmy himself, Jack O'Connell, has essentially made up based on his own psychosis that he's gone into, essentially from growing up and just seeing everyone turn to zombies. I feel like it's not that I feel like he's right, but I guess it makes sense that that could happen to you if you were growing up with something like that. You probably are going to go into psychosis, so it does add up, you know. Another thing I want to mention, I am not 100% sure on how they shot this. I know in the last one they mentioned the use of iPhones on a rig, which was really, really cool. I don't know if they did that thing again, but there was a lot of really cool shots in this movie that I feel like if you are a movie nerd and you love things when it comes to the actual like cinematography and the filming itself, you will really like this. The only one thing that I feel like I kind of want a little bit off was I would have been intrigued to see what happened with Spike's dad and that whole like community area. I would have been a little bit interested to just kind of know what was going on there. Obviously not for like a whole chunk of it or anything like that, but I would have just like a little inkling. I feel like would have been quite good, but it wasn't necessary, so I understand why they didn't have that in. What I did love, and this is I guess a really big spoiler because it's essentially a cliffhanger of the movie, so if you were willing to listen to just the fact that there's gore and how the Jimmy group are evil, surprise, and that the alpha is essentially getting cured throughout the movie, if you're willing to listen to that, you're probably going to be willing to listen to this because that's essentially the plot of the movie. But it finally ties together, and that is the one thing that I think that if this scene didn't happen, I would have still felt that this was a great movie. But this made the child inside me that saw 28 Days Later and fell in love with the movie really feel happiness and really feel like, oh my god, this is a fucking amazing movie. 28 Days Later is now finally linked because who shows up? Cillian Murphy himself. Seeing him in the same kind, I don't know if it's the exact same location, I'm assuming it's either the same location or it's just a similar looking type of vibe, but then being in like the farmhouse with the fields where you see in the first movie, the end of the first movie is the shot of them writing hello in sheets so the plane sees it. So I would love to know the explanation as to how that didn't work. We don't know what happened to the young girl whose dad died in the first movie and his assumed girlfriend by the end of the first movie. We don't see them, but we do see a daughter, and I'm only going to assume that that's his from that relationship because I can't imagine he's had any other relationships during this situation. I feel like it'd be kind of impressive if he's managing to get around in an apocalypse situation where there's barely anyone but zombies on the earth. But seeing him back in that scene, in that exact environment that I'm assuming is the exact environment where they were meant to get rescued essentially by that plane, so obviously that must have not happened, right? Or maybe it did and then they ended up back there, because obviously we don't know what happened with 28 weeks, because 28 weeks was when everything was back to normal and everything was fine, and then it went to shit again. So it's interesting to now know that they are still in that place if they never left. Also interesting to see how they're now going to tie this to the next movie. I'm assuming there's going to be a next movie because of how that ended. Them two running to go and help Spike's character and one of the Jimmys going to help them. There's got to be another movie. There's got to be another movie, and there's got to be a whole explanation. I'm gonna need it, and it's made me so excited if they do choose to make another one. I really hope they do, and I really hope that we see more of the characters from the original back again, just out of sheer curiosity to what happened to them throughout this entire time. I have given obviously a lot of spoilers, and I don't want to yap too much, don't want this video to be too long, but thank you for watching. If you did watch all the way through, I'm sorry if you chose to listen to the spoilers because it's probably ruined it for you now. It's not going to be as exciting, but I appreciate your time, and I will try and do more reviews, more videos in general. Hopefully I can go some places and do some more vlogs because I do find them really fun, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.